What's going on, family? What's going on? What's going down? What's shaking? Welcome to Johnathan Soul's podcast. This is Johnathan Soul speaking now. Family, I got the triumvirate. I got the trifecta. I got some powerful brothers who are having a Kickstarter happening, and they're going to bring you Blackout, the Eradication Protocols. I'm talking about Roosevelt Pitt. I'm talking about Jay. Man, you straight out of a comic book. Kelley, and I'm talking about Vince White. How you doing, gentlemen?
Hey. Yourself?
Yeah, anybody, you related to Jim Kelley? You can tell me.
Yeah, I used to tell people that all the time, that I'm related to Jim Kelley. Then I started getting beat up, and I stopped saying it.
I can dig it. So, Blackout the Eradication Protocols. All right, so Roosevelt, just introduce us to this concept and why we're doing this Kickstarter.
Well, Blackout is a story that I've been wanting to tell for many, many years. And finally, I was able to work with two gentlemen who I respect highly, that allowed me to kind of spread my wings and use the platform to tell a story that I've always wanted to share, and a story that I knew mainstream would never tell. And specifically, that is horrific events that have plagued Black people for hundreds of years. And we have sort of pushed it in the back of our minds, swept it under the carpet, almost as if it never existed. But it did exist. It did happen. And those events, horrific as they were, unfortunately shaped us as Black people to this day. And it has effects on us that we still haven't shaken off. And in this particular story, Blackout deals with the disappearance of Black people. And we've heard it across the globe. When those Black girls in Africa disappeared, when we find circumstances where Black people have vanished and nothing but their bodies are left and their organs are taken, organ harvesting. Those type of things have happened, Johnathan. But it's amazing how we just don't want to talk about it. But I wanted to bring it into a story where the brother, which is a character that I've grown to admire, over the short time that I've known of the brother. And I'll tell you briefly how much the character has become a part of my existence. And I'll let Jay speak about the brother. No one can do it better than he can. But the brother in itself and what he represents as far as a true African who's there to uplift and help his people while also educating them how to be better at being Black, as well as helping people across the globe, no matter what their race or ethnic group is. And that in itself drew me to the brother, so much so that I think last year or the year before, one of my sons dressed up as the brother for Halloween. And that was quite monumental for me because I just gave him the book. And I tell you how powerful the brother imagery is and what Jay has done. He took the book, read it, and said, wow, this is a credible character. Now, let's back up a little bit. He didn't have the book. He just saw it on Facebook when I shared it with him. He saw the image of the brother and said, you know what? I want to dress up as the brother for Halloween. And Jay was kind enough to send him a comic book afterwards. And he has that comic book to this day. So that tells you what positive Black masculine imagery can do for young Black men. So I just had to kind of give Jay his props real quick again, but I'll let him speak more about the brother. But I wanted to utilize that character in this story because of his mystical capabilities, his particular outlook on life, and how that contrasts with Purge, who's a tech guy. So mysticism and tech never really meshes well together. But I wanted to write a story where these two characters come together, despite their differences in ideology and beliefs, understand that they are in it together as Black men to help save these Black people who have disappeared and to solve it. Not only that, but uncover a whole huge agenda that also impacts Purge's city and the safety of that haven and that Mecca. And the story was called Blackout because people are disappearing. Black out. So it's a huge story. I'm excited to work with Jay on it. And then, of course, Vince was kind enough to allow us to use his platform of the Powerverse to really help us to, like I said before, spread our wings and allow us to tell the story like no one else can.
Gotcha. Now, before we go to Jay and then Vince, I just want to give people the big picture. We're talking about a Kickstarter. We're talking about Kickstarter to get this gorgeous book printed, get the digital, get it all produced, get it mailed out to you, the marketing, the whole nine. We're looking to raise $5,200 by June the 18th, which is a Sunday. June the 18th, which is a Sunday. So we have a crossover kind of thing happening. We have Purge, which is this technical guy. It's this brother who's like a big businessman in this New Salem in North Carolina, North Carolina. And so he's down there and he's got this tech thing happening and so forth. And then he has this alter ego. He dresses up in this suit and he has this kind of bio cyborg technical thing happening, fighting the bad guys or whatever. And then we have Brother, which is a new character for me. So Jay Kelley, could you introduce us to yourself and to Brother?
Well, I'm Jay Kelley, and the Brother is basically a character I had bouncing around in my brain for a while. I don't know if you are familiar with the term magical Negroes. They're like supporting characters in fiction where you have like these black individuals who have all these magical powers. They can do all these amazing things, and yet they only exist to promote the agenda of the protagonist, who usually isn't black.
The white
at all.
character. The white character.
Exactly.
There you go, my man.
Yeah. You have like Morpheus in the Matrix. Morpheus in the Matrix, if he can train Neo, he can save the universe himself. What does he need Neo for?
Exactly.
But and I don't have a problem with that per se. I know every writer has their own way of doing it. But I wanted a black character, a black hero who cared about black people.
Right.
And it cared about himself and not disregarding other people, but primarily cared about his own as well. The Brother is an African king from pre-colonial Africa who sold an enemy tribe into slavery and was cursed to travel through time to find redemption. And in so doing, he becomes the moral conscience of humanity. And one of his primary goals is to unite the diaspora, not just physically, but spiritually as well. I describe him as like a serial healer. He carries a spear that enables him to travel through time, which protects him from projectiles and objects of that nature. And he also has a sidekick, a 14-year-old girl by the name of Imani Anderson, who's American and who brings that unique perspective. She represents the audience. Okay. And I love the character because the character reminds me of every positive male influence I've had in my life. And I like hearing Roosevelt's story about his son. It really kind of moved me. I didn't know he was going to do that, but it really kind of moved me because that's exactly what I intended to do with the Brother. I wanted a positive black hero who cared about all people. I mean, there's this one statement where he goes to like a list of tribes: Yoruba, Fulani, Habesha, Shante, Congo, Hutu, Romo, Zulu, Kasa, Maasai, Mandinka, and I. All of humanity is Africanity. There's one race, no aristocracy. That's pretty much his viewpoint.
Wow.
Of course he cares about his own, but he recognizes that all of these aristocracies are man-made and imposed upon us to elevate one group and to suppress another. So, when I found out about Roosevelt Pitt's Purge character, I said, oh man, this is perfect. This is perfect because they have similar outlooks. I mean, Purge has like New Salem that he protects, and the Brother has essentially everybody.
The thing that I find interesting is that both your characters have a point of view, and it's not as simple as truth, justice, and the American way. You know what I mean? It's not something that, because that's alien to us. That's alien to the African American reader. If you really want to be truthful about it, when Roosevelt was on the show last, we talked about the art explosion, the Renaissance in the 90s, and how not only was there a tremendous availability of African American comics and other kinds of content, but the people were buying, the people were supporting, and I think that what you guys are doing, to be perfectly frank with you, is y'all is trying to mess up the trend. That's really what it is. Because the trend is you about 36 to 40, to buying comics. That's who's in the comic book stores geeking out. That's who's watching Netflix but you guys are going to reach the kids. Because I sent a buttload of books down to North Carolina down to Charlotte to my cousin, and the grandma called. Ring. Hey, honey, how you doing, sugar? You know what I mean? Can you send some more books? And where can I find the website? You know what I mean? But it's the kids. They was digging them. I think what you guys are going to do is you're going to change the trend in comics, and you're going to get kids to read comics again. Kids.
Yeah. I agree with that as well. If I may chime in on that.
And this is Vince, right?
Yep.
My man, go ahead.
Yep.
Vince White from the Powerverse, and I just bought 1 through 5 of Willpower. Go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think what the movement is afoot in the indie market, if not in the mainstream, where characters of color are starting to resonate with the, I guess, a new base of readers. And what's happening is the culture has caught up to the great landscape that comics provide. So what's happening is the blurb, the black nerddom, the geek landscape has spread throughout hip hop. And I mean, in the early days, you had Wu-Tang talking about, ninjas and Saturday morning kung fu flicks, but they soon started to talk about comics. And now with the, one of the things that blew my mind is when I went to one of my first comic conventions, and I noticed that a great deal of the artists were Black. And people that I read and didn't realize that, that's the case. And now you give it 20 years, and what has happened is more and more artists have become people of color. More and more people of color are starting to read comics and starting to understand that world, that genre. And now I think the movement is really afoot. There's a base for readers. They're young. They're into everything from hip hop to jazz to history. They're Black history, and they're ready to read something that looks like them. And even though the big guys can't seem to tap into it, I think it's definitely making a comeback or a movement in the indie market for sure.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what articles you read, the indie market is like 25% of comic book sales, meaning not DC and Marvel. So I don't know if Image and what's the other one? What's the big one begins with a V?
Valiant.
I don't know if Valiant is still counted as indie, but yeah, I mean, I haven't bought a DC, and I think the last time I bought a Marvel comic was a graphic novel of Black Panther's wedding with Storm.
Wow. Yeah.
And that was Reginald Hudlin. Yeah. That was a minute ago. But that, it was a Black character and a Black author, but I know it's not Black owned. So, there's some censorship there, I'm sure. So let's get back to this. So we're trying to raise $5,200 and just break down a little bit about what goes where, and then we'll talk about your team, in terms of your artists and all that kind of stuff.
You want me to do that?
Well, I'm going to say yes. Vince is the one who's really a whiz with the campaign. I want to give him a great vote of thanks for all his work. He definitely done a wonderful job building it. So I'll give him that the floor to express that and explain it.
Well, one thing I have to say is that I'm very lucky to be working with both of these gentlemen. Mr. Kelley popped up on my Facebook page about 5 years ago.
Wow.
He supported everything I put up there. Everything from Willpower, and he watched Willpower, which was my character, grow and grow and grow, and everything I post he would like. And one day I noticed that he had a character of his own. I'll get to breaking everything down as well, but it was the brother. I also had the pleasure of knowing Roosevelt Pitt from a long time ago, where I met him in San Diego during the San Diego Comic-Con. And this was way back when Amaya, is that how you pronounce it, Rose? Amaya, correct?
Oh, no, back then it was Ania.
Ania, excuse me, Ania. I always pronounce it wrong. Where Ania was in its earlier stages, and Purge was out on the comic book shelves and racks, and I was actually a fan. But for it to come full circle, what has happened is Roosevelt has always put his best foot forward in anything that he has done. He has been a pioneer as far as producing comic books with people of color, with Black characters, Black storylines, and so forth. And even today, he is still doing it. Whatever he does, he puts his best foot forward. He does not slack on the art. He does not cut corners on the writing, nor does he cut corners on the people that he selects. So that being said, I don't know how he does it, but he finds some of the best artists.
Yeah.
I mean, these are like the untapped. I don't know where he's searching for these people, but it's phenomenal work. I don't know why these guys aren't, and let's knock on wood, I don't know why these guys aren't scooped up, because you know how they do. They scoop them up, knock on some wood. But he's found some great artists, some great colorists. He found some great revenues for printing and so forth. And those things aren't cheap. They're not free. And so in order to ensure the best quality possible, which I will tell you that Mr. Pitt is all about that. He wants to portray characters of color in the best light possible. So the money is going to the production, paying the artists, the inkers, the pencilers, the inkers, the colorists, lettering, getting the book printed and distributed. There's also some awesome, that whole 5,000, I'm amazed at what we're able to do with it. Because within that 5,000, there's some awesome rewards in there as well. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that, Jonathan.
Just long enough to get the $25 joint where I can get the print. I always got to have a print.
Yeah. But we're fortunate enough to have an artwork by Mr. Mashimbo Kumba. Am I pronouncing that right, Mr.?
Oh, it's actually Mashindo Kumba.
Mashindo Kumba.
Mashindo.
Mashindo. I'm sorry, Mashindo. I might. I know I'll get a call after this.
Coolest name ever, by the way. Coolest name ever. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. And he did an awesome pick. Jay, how did you get him to do that pick for you? How did you convey that imagery to him?
I begged, I pleaded. Actually, I came at it when he had done a series of other images for me, and he already knew where I was going. I said, hey, just a picture of slave ship. He said, I know where you're going, and he knew exactly what I wanted to do. He did it much better than I ever could imagine.
So since this is called radio, quote unquote, describe to the folks what image we're talking about.
It's an image of the brother and his protege, Bonnie Anderson, and a bunch of freed Africans who have just staged a mutiny on a slave ship, and they're heading back home to Africa, and the brother's at the steering wheel while they're doing it.
That is fucking cool.
And not only that, it looks like it's done in these deep purples and blues, and Mashindo has this awesome style, as everyone knows. And this image is one of the rewards. It's going to be a rather large framed wall hanging. I call it the ultimate conversation piece. So if you have an office or even a man cave that you want to have something on the wall, as soon as someone comes in, they look at it and whoa, hey, what is that? It is majestic, because what it looks like to me, Jay, is that not only is he at the helm of the ship, but it looks like he's sailing the ship through the stars. And
yes.
And I was like, this brother, the brother is this intergalactic, dimensional traveler sailing the ship through space. I was like, man, this is awesome. So that's one of the prizes you can get from the Kickstarter. We decided we were going to try something different. So we actually have official Blackout convention wear. That's what we call it.
Yeah, I see the comics. The Blackout Knights look like some Chuck Taylors or something. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's sneakers. We found a vendor that actually prints on leather. They're leather high tops with the Blackout cover done by Keith and Jones. Mm-hmm. That imagery is printed all over the shoes, as well as the T-shirt. So there's some awesome rewards. The money that we're trying to raise goes to a myriad of things, mm-hmm. but all of it will be a benefit to the backer at the end, and well worth it, I would say.
Yeah. And so whose idea was it to do this team up? Whose idea was it to kind of, join like Voltron? Whose idea?
That's Mr. Pitt for sure.
Well, yeah, I guess I'm sorry. It was me.
That's beautiful.
It was me. I'll admit it. But I've always been a
But see, this is what's exciting to me, right? I mean, the brother I'm just getting hip to, and let me know, Jay, if you got books so I can cop them. Okay.
Okay.
So I've already, supported and got my digital of Purge. I just copped. And so to see y'all come together like this, I think is fucking awesome. And this is not a children's show, so, pardon the language. This is not. But again, I'm in the coffee house 2 weeks ago, and I got Tuskegee Airs, and I got Johanse, I can never pronounce that word, crystal, right? And I'm sitting there, because I'm doing my version. It's a brother on YouTube who does it's a whole bunch of people that do walkthroughs through the comics. Nobody's doing it for Black comics. Nobody. So that's my opportunity. So I'm sketching stuff out, and the little girl comes, hey, how you doing? This, that, and the third. And, my daughter said she was flirting, but I think she just wanted to comic. Right? So she ended up, here, sweetie, just give it, boom. Kind of thing. So, again, a young person. You know what I mean? So if I just had Batman, Superman, whatever, it's they're like WWF. 1 minute, Captain America's a good guy. I mean, they've run out of stories. They've run out of fucking stories. And then, we talking about a generation that grew up with a black man in the White House. So there's a subconscious expectation of a black person out in front. They're not going to be satisfied with this magical Negro. Thank you for the vocabulary word. I'm writing that down. They're not going to settle for the sidekick. And so I feel like y'all are stepping in and filling that need with this African American content. Go ahead, Jay, man. My soapbox is getting cold.
I totally agree with you. I don't want to monopolize.
Do you think?
But the thing is I feel like this we're performing a service. Actually, I think we're
damn
comic book
right
for the soul, and that's one of the reasons why and I can refer to all the heroes like this, but that's one of the reasons why I call it a serial healer, because it's not it's not the usual bim bam boom. I mean, it is. I mean, you got that too, but we're expanding that whole comic book genre. We're adding a dimension of spirituality to it that I think a lot of other comics are missing out on, or just downright ignoring.
They ignore it because it's not an important cultural concept. But with African American people and probably African, that whole idea of healing. I mean, a serial healer. That's amazing.
Oh, well, no, yeah, and another thing too. One thing too. I've had people when I told them that I wanted the brother to be African as opposed to African American. That was a big deal, and they didn't understand why. I said, well, for one thing, I don't think Africa should be stigmatized. I don't think there's anything wrong. And the brother comes from pre-colonial Africa, so a lot of the negative programming and a lot of the bad stuff that happened to us, he doesn't have that baggage, and which enables him in some ways to be more of a healer. Imani Anderson represents really the audience and the average American, and then the two of them clash. Just the whole point of that. But what really attracted me to Roosevelt Pitt's character, Purge has been around for a long time. I remember being on a message board over 10 years ago, and Purge was perking along, man. I mean, he was like, you know how we all, when we get together, we complain about this, we complain about that. We're more likely to criticize than to actually do anything, and that's one thing that always struck me as amazing about Roosevelt Pitt and Vince White both. I mean, they're not content to really just complain about what's missing from the other guy. They create their own stuff. They're original. I read this article with Jordan Peele this week, and they had offered him the movie Akira, and he said he turned it down because he says he doesn't want to do the same old thing. He doesn't want to do pre-existing material. He wants to do something that's original that can help his people. I applauded that. Wow. And that's exactly what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's missing when any of when the big guys try to do it, they just recycle their characters instead of creating something that's new. And we're ready for something new. Those characters, they're great, but they've been around 60, 70 years, and you're not going to add to the portfolio. You're so afraid of something coming out that might be better. Like, you create a character that's better than Superman, and you're afraid of that. Because you're so worried about keeping the same old portfolio of characters, same old IPs. You're so invested in it that you can't grow.
Well, I'll add a little bit to that. I believe that's definitely true, but I also believe it's true that they're not willing to utilize a black face to be better than Superman, nor Captain America, nor any other high influential white character that has been favored and loved throughout ages, who they present as the best of the best when it comes to saving the world. So they're not going to do that. They're just not going to. And most likely, when they find a character such as the brother or Purge, they have their eye on us. So don't think they're not watching. Because they're not able to do or willing to do what we are willing to do or able to do, and the story that we're willing to tell, they're not able or willing to tell. So most likely, if anything, they will try to create something that's watered down, or either find a way to shut us down. But you can't shut down what you didn't build, and that's what we have to be able to remember and stand on.
Mm. And so, a little sidebar, Vince, tell us about Powerverse.
Yeah, exactly. It embodies exactly what these guys are saying and what we've all been saying here. I noticed a while ago that if you wanted anything to be different in the market, that it's not going to come through the established means, that you'd have to create something new. And after being a comic book fan for over 20 years, I've seen people come and go. And the main reason why they go is because of they have issues with ego, and we end up fighting, and they can't seem to come together. So what I wanted to do was, I realized there's more independent creators than there are in the mainstream. We outnumber everyone. And so if we just realized this and came together, we could have this vehicle of ideas and to create a new mythology that represents the world as it is today, and that represents people that look like us and look like the world as it truly is populated. And so that's what the Powerverse is. It's set up in a way where it is a no strings attached, pretty much open source universe that's dedicated to edifying and uplifting the indie market characters, because we have our own greats, our own iconic characters, like the brother, very iconic. He fills an archetype that is not necessarily present in the mainstream market. So does Purge, so does Willpower. and that's what the Powerverse is. So it is a new, what I like to call the new mainstream independent. And so if you have a property, if you want, no matter what, it doesn't matter what race or nationality your characters are, although I like to try to create something that's similar to a Milestone meets Image, that at least there are characters of color and that they're not afraid to be in positions of power. And and they can stand right alongside anyone else. So if you have a character, you want to create a property, you want to have a place where you're not concerned about someone taking your idea or holding you to a contract where you cannot leave. You can come and go to the Powerverse whenever you want. Visit us. Look us up, willpowercomic.com and thepowerverse.com. So both those URLs will take you to the site.
Solid, right on. Have you guys ever been to a comedy club, like when they have Black Night?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Who do you see in the corner, way in the back corner, giggling, laughing their asses off? Who do you see in the corner?
The white dudes.
Exactly.
That's right.
So you ain't got to
That's right.
compromise your image to attract all types of people, and I think you guys get that. You know what I mean? The best thing we can do for humanity is to be ourselves. I mean, deep. You know, the wonderful thing about African American culture and African American writers and artists is that we can dig elbow deep into our own culture and pull out the gold. Because everybody else is just going to look at us as a surface. They're going to try to make up some bullshit slang. They're going to make one white character black, and then that's it. That's all you get. Oh, yeah, and there'll be a sidekick. You know what I mean? That's all you get. You know what I mean? But when you have a black person, man, woman, you understand, who loves their people and appreciates what value we bring to the planet, I mean, the world is open to you. So you guys coming together like this, I think, is beautiful. So, ladies and gentlemen, just to remember, I'm talking to these gentlemen because I want you to go, just like I did, to Kickstarter.com. I want you to look up Blackout, the Eradication Protocols, and I want you to donate. And they have different levels. I always donate at the level where I can get the printed piece. You understand? Because I gave my iPad to my daughter, and I really can't, you know what I mean? I can't do the PDF no more, you understand? So I always like to have the printed piece. I mean, let me ask you this. When you guys buy comics, do you prefer the paper or you prefer the digital?
I actually prefer the paper. I really do. But I'll take it any way I can get it.
I'm definitely old school. I prefer paper, but I also indulge in PDFs as well.
I gotta say, John, I'm moving towards the digital era.
What? Are you serious, man?
I would say this. I'll say this because for me, and this is one thing I think comics are, it is such a powerful medium. We are creating American fantasy.
Right.
And so, you don't need the paper to realize what mythology is. The thing that we have to do is we have to inseminate ourselves into the culture. And then you do that through mythology. Mm-hmm. And mythology doesn't exist on paper, it exists in the mind. Mm. And if we can create characters that will make all types of people say, wow, I want to be like that character. I like that character. We've done more than I think you could do than a lot of other than marching at times, because you've touched someone's mind where you haven't had to confront them physically. Mm-hmm. You have to go through the physical barrier a lot of times before you even get them to start thinking. If you confront someone in a crowd, you're not touching their mind, but mm-hmm. you can touch their mind with mythology and fantasy. Yeah. And the superhero is exactly what it is the representation of what we believe in the United States as a hero. Mm-hmm. One man against everything can make a change. Whether that's true or not, that's what America believes.
Yeah, that's inspiring.
And that's what we're trying to create, a new type of mythology.
Yeah, I mean, in the West, the only mythologies and fables that we have, just to restate what Vince just said, is religion and comic books. You know what I mean? That's our Thor. That's, you know, like the religious.
Our leprechauns.
Exactly.
Our
Yep.
dragons.
Yep.
It's the superhero. And that's why it's so powerful. And the imagery that's coming out now will change the minds of kids and people alike for generations to come. And now's the time to strike.
Now, before I forget, speak to role models. I read the little blog post that you did on your page, Vince, where you talked about Saturday morning cartoons and, you know, used to get up, this, that, and the third, and then, you know, they were role models, and then they had the Beavis and Butthead and the joint flipped. You know, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, whether or not we had representation, I was growing up, but I still love Saturday morning cartoons.
The only thing we had was Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, let's be honest.
That's right. That's right. When Brown Hornet came on, I was Brown Hornet. Oh, but I'm going to put a pin in that because I'm going to come back to that. But yeah, you know, I would run downstairs. You know, I couldn't wake up any other time to go to school on time. Yep. But I would wake up to watch that cartoon before I went to school. You know, it could be Thundercats, it could be G.I. Joe. Back in the day, it was like the Herculoids and, you know, Hanna-Barbera.
World of Super Adventure.
Those what were you going to say, Jay?
I said Hanna-Barbera, World of Super Adventure.
Yeah. Well, you know, I love Hong Kong food because he was obviously a black guy, Scatman Crothers, so you get that.
Oh yeah, Hong Kong food. I'm a Huckleberry fan.
You know what? I don't want to show my age too much, but I end up doing it anyway. But I go as far back as the Super Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh
wow! and the short-lived Rickety Rocket.
Yeah, Blast Off. I remember that.
But there was something, Johnathan, I don't want to take this too far off. I'm so sorry, man.
That's what I love about podcasting. Go as far afield as you want.
There was I don't know what it was, but there was so much more progress, it seems like, back then. Because you had the Jackson 5 had a cartoon show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. The Globetrotters had a cartoon show. Fat Albert and so forth, right? But what was prevalent amongst all those shows, no matter if it was the Globetrotters or Thundercats or G.I. Joe, is that they all taught us moral lessons.
Mm-hmm.
They were morality plays. And the good guy was so clear to see. And so what we would do is we would reenact that as children. We'd run around and say, I'm going to be the good guy. No, man, you got to be the bad guy. Yeah. we would who tied towels around their neck and, you know, and pretended it was a cape?
Bed sheet. Pillowcase.
Yeah, man.
Even if it was a black cape. Roosevelt probably had a black cape.
I did, and I broke my wrist on 2 occasions trying to fly.
I think this is so powerful. This is so powerful. This is why we have to create these archetypes, these mythological American archetypes, because those cartoons, they imbued us with a sense of right and wrong. They gave a whole generation a moral compass. Mm-hmm. And what happened is those Saturday morning cartoons, they even had safety tips that would come on in between. Like if you caught on fire, you knew exactly what to do. Yep. You had to stop,
drop and roll.
Yep. you knew.
And since you're going there, Vince, I learned my number 3 timetables from Schoolhouse Rock.
Oh,
yeah, me too. 369.
Yep.
And believe me, Verb was my guy.
Yeah. Oh man, Verb. That's what's happening. Yeah, man.
I said, man, if I could be buff like Verb, I don't think I had to be able to do this.
You know, you would have like what G.I. Joe would say after they saved the day. They said, "Well, now you know," and knowing is half the battle.
Half the battle.
You know, you knew that McGruff would say, "Take a bite out of crime."
Yeah.
Or Smokey would say, you know, force. Only you can stop force fires, right? Okay, so not only were you reinforced with what was good and right in the cartoon, you also learned lessons about society and everything else, how to comport yourself, and for that generation, even everyone from people of color to white kids, Spanish kids. You know, if you're in your 40s or 50s, you kind of know how to carry yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, somewhere along the line, about 20 years ago, the Saturday morning cartoons just started changing, disappearing. They started to turn into, like Adventure Time, Ren and Stimpy, Beavis Butthead.
Yep.
The cartoons became more cynical, more sarcastic. And so the kids in that generation became exactly that way.
Wow.
You started.
I didn't make that connection. That's the millennials you're talking about.
Yes.
Because my kids was watching that Adventure Time, which I never heard of until they told me. And I was like, this is horrible. Compared to what I came up on. It was horrible.
Yeah, I mean, basically they're practically cussing on the screen and talking about they have sex in the window and all types of stuff on the screen and if the kids are watching that, you see what has happened. You've seen what has happened. Now you got all these schoolyard shootings. Kids are disrespectful to their teachers. Yeah. I would never think about doing something like that when I was a kid, nor even thinking about saying that to my mama because I wanted to keep my jaw attached to my face. Yeah. So what the correlation is that as our mythological heroes decline, so too did the society.
Now, was that art imitating life or life imitating art, in your opinion?
I think it's life imitating art, and because there's a reason why in the middle of some African village 1,000 years ago, the man would stand by a fireplace and behind him they would pat slowly on the drum, and he would begin to tell the tale of how the stars came to be, and they will all gather around him. There's a power in the storytelling. Mm-hmm. And whatever you tell, whatever you expose your generation to, whether they know it or not, it is shaping their minds, going through their eye gate, their ear gate, everything, right? Mm-hmm. And so the people scoffed before at why are you into comics? Why do you want to create comics? It is truly one of the most powerful mediums in the United States and now becoming worldwide there is to have, because you get to show what a hero looks like. You get to show what good looks like. And you get to show what bad looks like. And if everyone that's good never looked like you, you start to wonder. Well, when we were kids, it probably didn't even come to our minds, but there's a programming there. Mm-hmm. And so I think, I had to try to create something like the Powerverse because I wanted to celebrate our own icons and our own heroes. And I wanted to have characters that you could look to and say, wow, that's a hero. The whole purpose of Willpower was to have, where are the Black Boy Scouts? Mm. Every character of color is mean or angry, but why can't we have a Boy Scout? And so that was his purpose. That was his purpose. Just like I would say the brother is regal. When I that's why I said, dude, I went to Jay. I said, Jay, I gotta have the brother in the Powerverse. Let me just do a crossover, just one thing, because you gotta have this regal character, and Purge, he is like the defiance of a man who knows himself, and a man of color at that, and so. These are powerful archetypes. They're not negative. They're not militant. They're not anti-social. They're powerful archetypes that need to be seen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I mean that's my correlation between Saturday morning cartoons and how they affect you. Yes.
Years ago, I was when my kids were small. My daughters was in a Montessori school. And I lived in Philly at the time, and I would read to my son's third grade class, long story, but I would read to him on Wednesdays, and I never did anything for the girls, so went there and I had like a VHS tape of some stop motion animation called The Princess, right? Some, elderly brothers came up with this little cartoon about an African princess, saves the day, the whole thing. So Montessori school, this Jewish lady ran it. She seemed very, progressive with quotes, air quotes, right? And everything, all that kind of thing, right? When I put that tape in, her face dropped. She had a look of, I would say, kind of horror a little bit on her face. But the children, their faces lit up and they were glued to the screen. I said all that to say that images of Black people are powerful. You know what I mean? Now here's the flip side. My son is over in Japan, right? Just talked to him today. He has to deal with the images of African American people kicked out by, sent around the world by the United States. That's negative. It's the gangster or the hip hop thing. And so he has to, he almost feels like he's an ambassador almost, kind of thing. Images of Black people are powerful. And so it's beautiful that you guys are wielding this power, properly. And we can help. The people who are listening to this broadcast, you guys can go over to the Kickstarter and you can pledge. And you can help get this kind of image out. This is what I'm seeing, right? In most comics, I got this one here by two brothers. It's called Red, a cyberpunk fairy tale. And, like a lot of comics nowadays, it's like a dysphoric. I always mess up that word. Like a kind of jacked up future, like a what's the word? Dysphoric. You know what I'm trying to say?
Dystopia.
Dystopia. Yeah, dystopic future, right? But with African American people, it's like our future is brighter and we had a dystopic past. You know what I'm saying? It's like the opposite. You know what I mean?
That's too reverse. Good joke.
It's like the opposite. It's like it can't get no worse, baby. You know what I mean? We starting to wake up and build our own shit. So I'm excited about this comic. I'm excited about the storyline. I'm excited about the characters, and I'm excited about being given the opportunity to kind of help put the word out. So just briefly, just tell the folks where to go to find the comic. Just give them a little call to action. What should we be doing to help y'all out?
Mr. Pitt?
Well, one thing I would say is, definitely share. Share Twitter, all over social media, get the word out. Even if you are not able to financially assist us, spreading the word does so much because maybe you're not able to help us, but your neighbor may be. And of course, a pledge what you can.
Yep.
Vince has put together a wonderful campaign that accommodates everyone's budget. And he's put it in place in a way that no matter what you pledge, you're going to get your money's worth.
Yep.
So no doubt. And as Vince eloquently put it, I'm all about high quality, nothing less. So, what you are going to be pledging and what you're going to be supporting will be the best of the best because I'm fortunate to be working with the best of the best. And of course, you can reach Purge on www.kid-comics.com. You can find Purge there. You can find Purge PDF. And very soon we'll have it posted on the website where you'll be able to purchase the printed copy of Purge as well. And if you need to reach me personally, Roosevelt Pitt on Instagram and Crimson Seed 1 on Twitter is where you can reach me, as well as Facebook. We also have a Purge Past Unspoken Facebook page as well. So I'm all over the net. So you should be able to find me easy.
Fantastic. Vince?
You can find more of the Powerverse at willpowercomic.com or thepowerverse.com. Go to the Kickstarter. Go to kickstarter.com, search Blackout. The Kickstarter is a fundraising platform. It requests pledges. The pledges are not actual payments, or you're not buying anything initially. You state your pledge, you state the amount, you state which card you'd like their pledge to come off of, and none of that money will be collected until the end of the campaign, which is in June 18th. So even though you pledge today, let's say you pledge $20, that no money is coming out of your account until June 18th. They'll send you an email to warn you. If it hits your account and you don't have it in your account for some reason, it will not hit your account 2 or 3 times. It will just stop. It won't cause NSF or anything else. So you can pledge away, pledge until your heart's content. And I just want to get that out there because a lot of us are sometimes leery at times. So pledge, and let's make this happen. Let's make heroes. Diverse heroes happen. This is the time, and the Powerverse, I believe, this is the place to make it happen.
Fantastic, Jay.
Oh well, you can. You can go to Facebook. There's the Brother fan page on Facebook. You can buy the Brother comic at kablam.com. Just search for the Brother. But most importantly, I want you to go to willpowercomic.com /blackout /.
Yep. Maybe / some type of slash. Just go there.
Get some slashes in there, you know.
And will that take you to the Kickstarter, or what will that take you?
That will take.
That'll take you to the Kickstarter.
Yep, it'll take you to a page that explains Blackout a little more, and then you can click and follow to the Kickstarter. Yep.